I don't know about you, but I just love cutting down trees. Felling is an art form that I didn't really understand until I started doing it. And it's something you always have to respect because it's always going to be dangerous, no matter how many times you've done it. There's something about the sound of the chainsaw and even more so, the sound that the tree makes when it splits and falls that I just can't get enough of. Each of these trees has its own story to tell, so I compiled footage of a bunch of the trees I cut down this year and put it together into this video. Hope you like it. This tree right here didn't have any lean, so it took a lot of hammering wedges to get it to finally go over. A lot of the trees that I cut down in this video have kind of their own little story or something else cool that happened with them. This one right here is setting right in the center of where the Quonset hut is now. I cut this one so high because we were going to be digging it out with the mini excavator. And that was actually a pretty cool video of digging this stump out because the stump is bigger than the excavator. And it took a little bit of ingenuity from the operator to get it out. There was one more tree that had to come down to make room for the Quonset hut. And it was an even bigger challenge because it had a beehive in it, a wild beehive that had been there for a very long time based on how deep they were burrowed into the ground. So, at the end of this video, I'll link to both of those videos. That last one I cut down was a bore cut with a 36-inch bar on the 500i, and this is a tiny little tree, but it was trying to lean into a power line, so it still takes a little bit of craft to make it go where you want. If you've seen my video about milling lumber out of a 4,000-pound log, this is the tree we did that with. It's a pin oak, and now it's a big stack of 2x12 lumber setting up next to the shop. Really was pretty cool seeing that mobile sawmill set up and the homemade log arch that we used to drag this giant log up onto the mill. This is another interesting job. I showed up to cut down a tree with the largest canopy that I had ever seen, and the tree you're seeing me cut right now was going to be in the way and possibly get that other tree hung up. So I had to take it down too. This is the tree that I just mentioned that has the giant canopy. Seeing it here looks pretty standard, but up above it had 3 trees worth of limbs and so much weight overhead that there wasn't much I could do to direct it. This was actually a stump grinding job, but we had to cut the 2 trees down first. So you see me cutting one tree now, and you're about to see the one that's behind me. A lot of these trees look like I've tried to cut into them 3 times because you see different lines across the backside. But after I make my face cut, sometimes I just make a real quick score around the backside of the tree and use that as a guide. And a lot of times I end up cutting a few inches off from that guide intentionally after giving it a second look. Hey. You might have noticed that on a couple of these trees, I used log splitting wedges in place of felling wedges. And I know better, I just forgot to bring the others. Here you can see me cutting down 3 trees that are actually pretty small, but they're right up against a building, and I had to grind these trees down below ground level for an expansion. 2 of them were leaning away from the building, and the third one actually kind of wanted to go onto the building, but we got them all out. But we couldn't use the guard on the stump grinder, and the cutting wheel was almost touching the side of the building. This is the one that was actually overhanging the building. Right out of the ground, it curves away from the building, but then it curves back over, and that's the direction the branches are, which is why I went ahead and used wedges on such a small tree. This tree was rotten about 90% of the way through, and most of the branches up above us were dead, so there wasn't much weight up there, but the darn thing still didn't really want to fall over as easy as I thought it would. This tree is always going to stand out to me because it was the first tree I ever cut down that was large enough that I had to worry about which way it was going to go, or even had the need to have wedges for. I appreciate you taking time to watch this video. You should see links to more of our videos on the screen, and I'll see you next time.